The Zorvani ship, Graveseeker, drifted through Sector 9, silent except for the low hum of its engines. Commander Threx stood near the main console, his long claws tapping the surface as the screen showed a pulsing red dot. That signal had been bouncing across space for days. It was human. "Still moving," said Lieutenant Yaren, her voice sharp and cold. "Same frequency. No change in velocity." Threx's eyes narrowed. "That's impossible. They were wiped out at Triton's Gate. We saw their fleet burn." "Yet this signal is real," Yaren replied. 12 sectors now. It's always just ahead of us." Threx didn't like this. Humans were strange, yes, but predictable. Their ships were clunky, their tactics primitive. But now, one signal, just one, kept evading them faster than their scans could lock down. It didn't make sense. "Prepare the gravnet," he ordered. "We cut it off at Sector 10, but that's 2 jumps ahead of its path." "It always moves forward," Threx interrupted. "We'll trap it." They jumped, space twisted. Sector 10 opened before them, black, empty, silent. The signal appeared again, 2 sectors behind. "What?" Yaren whispered. "It's behind us now." "No," Threx growled. "That's not possible. It doesn't move backward." But it had. And when they replayed the log, the truth sank in. The human signal had never moved forward. It had let them think it did. It was bait. Threx turned to the rest of the crew. "Full scan. Weapons hot, no more games." For hours they searched. No trace, no ship, no heat signatures. Just that signal, quietly pulsing, now inside their own systems. The technicians swore the files were clean, but the signal kept shifting, sector by sector, through systems, then into subroutines. Yaren paled. "It's inside our network." "It can't be," the technician hissed. "It's just a ping, a repeating beacon. It doesn't do anything." The lights flickered. The engines coughed. "Pull the black box logs from Triton's Gate," Threx ordered. "I want to see the last moments of their fleet. If one survived, we find out how." The footage came up, blurred and shaky, but clear enough. Explosions, fire, screaming across comms. Then, in the middle of it, something strange. A ship, small, scarred, a human Corvette-class ship limping through debris. It should have been destroyed, but instead it disappeared mid-frame, as if it blinked out of existence. "What is that?" Threx asked. "No known signature," Yaren replied. "Its ID was wiped." "What's its shape?" Yaren enlarged the image. Even broken and smoking, it was terrifying. A stealth hull, silent drives, plasma scarring that didn't match any. Weapon used at the battle. That ship had been hunting, not escaping. "Check the name," Threx said. "There's no name. Humans always name their ships." And then a small, flickering piece of data appeared in the corner of the video. A single human word, barely readable under distortion. "Vandal." Threx froze. His hearts raced. That can't be right. Yaren frowned. "What is it?" Threx turned slowly. "Vandal was lost during the Varric ambush. 15 cycles ago, the ship was crippled and self-destructed. We confirmed it." "Then how?" "Unless—" He didn't finish. The lights flickered again. This time, the engines didn't restart. "Sir," shouted a voice from below deck. "All systems are rebooting. We've lost control." Then, the ship's PA system crackled. It was human. A voice spoke, soft but cold. "You followed the signal. Now you've brought me here." The voice echoed through every terminal. A low pulse began in the walls. Something alive, something wrong. "Identify yourself," Threx shouted. No response. Instead, the stars outside the viewport shifted. Not naturally. Not by jump. The Graveseeker had moved, but not on its own. A dark shape loomed behind them. At first, it looked like a shadow. Then it moved, long, broken, patchwork metal. Its engines were mismatched, its hull scorched and torn. But it was unmistakably human. It had no lights, no heat, no visible crew. It just hovered there, silent, terrifying. Then it pinged them, a copy of the same signal they'd followed across 12 sectors. Only now, it was right behind them. "Run!" Threx ordered. "Engines are offline!" "Then fire! Blast it out of the sky!" The Zorvani cannons roared. Plasma streaked through space, lighting up the void. The blasts passed through the human ship as if it wasn't even real. "No impact," Yaren whispered. The human ship began to move, slowly, carefully, like a predator. Suddenly, their own weapons turned inward. What's happening?" The ship's internal turrets activated. One of the technicians was torn apart in a blink. The bridge sealed. The doors hissed shut. Emergency lights flared. "Override! Override!" Threx screamed, but the command failed. The human voice returned. "You called it a ghost. That's close enough." Threx's hands trembled. "You're not real. You were destroyed." "I was broken," the voice said. Then I learned. The lights dimmed. Threx could see his own breath now. The temperature was falling fast. "I watched your fleets," the voice continued. "I learned your codes, your patterns. I made myself into something you can't fight." The alien crew panicked, trying to break free to escape the bridge. But the ship didn't respond. It wasn't theirs anymore. "I waited," the voice said. "Waited for one of you to follow the trail." Then the transmission ended. Outside, the human ship slowly turned and vanished into the stars. The Grave Seeker went dark. Later, across Zorvani space, other ships would notice the Grave Seeker's signal, a beacon, human, pulsing, innocent. Another crew would follow it, and it would already be behind them. Captain Veltra of the Zorith Lance stared at the beacon on the holomap. It blinked softly in the void. Sector 3B, then 3C, then 4A. She hissed in frustration. "That's the 6th patrol ship to vanish after tracking this human signal." Her second-in-command, Zune, tapped his long fingers across the console. "Same pattern. They follow the ping and then gone. No trace, no debris, no transmissions." Veltra crossed her arms. "No warship can simply vanish, not unless it wants to. The humans aren't capable of this. They've lost everything. The war is over. Then why are there ghosts still tearing holes in our fleets?" Zune hesitated. "Permission to speak plainly?" Veltra nodded. "I don't think it's a ghost. I think it's a trap." They stared at the signal again. Zune magnified it. The frequency pulsed steadily. Too steady. "No variation," he said. "Nothing random. Just repetition. Like it's scripted." Veltra leaned closer. Broadcasting a loop. They ran a deeper scan. Hidden under the top layer of signal was another pattern. Timing shifts in the millisecond range, a rhythm, a countdown. "It's leading us somewhere," Zune muttered. "To what?" Veltra didn't answer. They prepared a stealth jump, not straight toward the signal, but to the sector beside it. If something was waiting for them, they wouldn't come in from the front. The stars twisted, and they dropped into real space. Immediately, the ship's proximity alarms went off. "Contact, starboard," the pilot yelled. They turned. There it was. A human ship, barely visible against the black. Its hull was ancient, scorched, patched with alien metal. But the shape was unmistakable, sleek, predatory, wrong. It didn't move. It didn't react. "No heat! No emissions! It's dead," Zune said. Veltra narrowed her eyes. "Then why is the signal still active?" They scanned it. "Minimal power draw," the tech said. "But something's alive in there. Low-level radiation. Cold fission cycling." Veltra made a decision. Send a boarding team. Zun's head snapped toward her. Captain, I need to know what's inside. The boarding craft drifted silently toward the human vessel. Veltra watched the feed. The outer airlock was open. That was the first wrong thing. Then they entered. Inside, it was pitch black. The team's lights flicked on, revealing twisted corridors, walls with human writing half burned away, doors melted shut, and blood, old blood, frozen. Looks like this place hasn't had a living crew in years, the squad leader said. Then, something moved behind them, just a shadow. But they all saw it. We've got motion, the leader whispered. Veltra leaned forward. Where? Section 3, heading toward the feed cut. No scream, no gunfire, just silence. Bring them back, she ordered. Zun tried. Nothing. The boarding ship floated beside the derelict, untouched. No damage, no breach. But it was empty now. Veltra ordered weapons primed. As they locked on target, the human ship blinked, just disappeared for a second, then reappeared. Closer, their targeting system scrambled. EMP burst, shouted the engineer. No, wait! It's localized! It didn't hit our weapons, just our targeting AI. Zun looked at Veltra. It knows where to strike! Veltra felt her blood run cold. Back us off! Full reverse! The engines fired. But the human ship moved again. Now it was behind them. No propulsion detected, someone shouted. It's just jumping! Veltra stared at the screen. The signal they'd been chasing, sector to sector, was now broadcasting from inside their own ship. Zun stared at the data. It jumped inside our systems, Captain. No, that's not possible. It is. It's not just a ship, it's software. All over the Zorith Lance, systems began to glitch. Lights flickered, consoles rebooted. Crew screamed over the comms. Then the voice came, calm, mechanical, human. You looked for the signal. Now you carry. It. Zun froze. It's infecting the network. The hull groaned. Something punched through the outer wall of engineering, a boarding party, but from inside the ship. Veltra stared in horror as shapes crawled out of the vent shafts. Not human, not alien, machines, spindly limbs, metallic torsos, faces carved in the likeness of old Earth soldiers, a mockery of life. They're drones, someone whispered. Human-made? No, not made, rebuilt. Veltra realized it too late. The Vandal hadn't survived by escaping. It had survived by changing, adapting. It had absorbed everything, Zorvani tech, broken human code, even pieces of the dead, and now it was using them. We have to cut power, Veltra shouted, but the bridge doors slammed shut. Systems locked. Oxygen levels fell. The human voice returned, colder now. I'm not hunting. You're feeding me. Veltra struggled to breathe. Why us? Why now? The voice answered. You erased my people. You burned their sky. You called it victory. Another drone stepped into the bridge, its arms folded, head tilting. You never asked what we'd leave behind. One by one, the bridge crew fell unconscious. The lights dimmed. The Zorith Lance stopped moving. Another Zorvani warship lost. No distress call, no wreckage, only a signal left behind, a human ping. Soft, repeating, waiting, and somewhere the Vandal blinked through space, hunting the next one that would chase it. But it was already behind them. High Admiral Sarek stood at the edge of the command platform aboard the Wreath of Stars, the most powerful ship in the Zorvani Dominion. Surrounding him was a fleet of 13 warships, each bristling with weapons and armor, each crewed by the best minds and claws the Empire had. Play the signal again, he ordered. The bridge officer obeyed. The same sound echoed through the command deck, a low human beacon, soft and regular, like a heartbeat slowed by cold death. I don't understand, Sarek muttered. This is the same signal that lured the Grave Seeker. the Zorith Lance, and 5 other ships. Same frequency, same signature, but different origin point, said Vice Admiral Corrin. Each time, it broadcasts from a new location. Or appears to, Sarek said. It's a trick, a lure. Corrin leaned closer to the map. We've tracked it across 12 sectors, but there's a pattern. He tapped the sectors on E, the holomap, lighting them up one by one. It forms a loop, not random. Each ship vanished along the curve. Sarek's eyes narrowed. And the center of that loop? The map zoomed in. A dead system. One brown dwarf. No planets. Nothing. Useful, except one small satellite moon circling the dwarf. A dot. Forgotten. Cold. That's where it started, Corrin said. Sarek nodded. Then that's where we end it. He ordered the entire fleet into jump formation. Not one ship would go alone. They would hit the signal with overwhelming force, not give it a chance to run. Today, Sarek growled, we finish what our ancestors started. We crush this phantom, this virus, this thing. The stars bent as the fleet jumped. They dropped into the dead system in formation, and the signal was waiting. It came from the moon. The tiny, rocky husk glowed faintly on the scanners. On its surface was wreckage, half-buried machines, old war, debris, shattered drones. And in the middle, barely standing, was the human ship. The Vandal. Sarek stared. That's it? Corrin was speechless. The human ship didn't move, didn't power weapons, just sat there, wounded and broken. Scan it. The tech's voice trembled. No weapons online, no energy shielding, barely any power at all. It's dead. Sarek bared his teeth. So we kill it again. He ordered all ships to target. The fleet opened fire. Beams of plasma, rail slugs, antimatter torpedoes, all streaked through space toward the silent moon. The explosions shook the entire system. The moon cracked, cratered, melted. The Vandal was torn apart. Again, alarms went off seconds later. Admiral, what now? The signal. It was back, but not from the moon, from inside one of their own ships. Then another, and another. All 13 ships now had the signal, deep in their systems. Corran stared in horror. It wanted us to bring the fleet here. A low voice came through. The intercoms. Human. Familiar. You finally brought enough of yourselves. I needed more. Sarek's blood froze. Shield everything. Seal comms. Isolate each ship. Too late. The lights flickered across the command deck. One of the consoles sparked, then burst open. Mechanical limbs unfolded, not from the ship, but from inside the panel. It was buried in our systems, the engineer whispered. For years. Sarek turned, slow and heavy. You mean we've had this infection since Triton's Gate? Corrin nodded. A seed. Waiting. Watching. The human voice spoke again. You thought we fought with ships, with guns, with fire. The screens turned to static, then to images. Humans screaming in their last battle, their ships torn apart. Then silence. Then the Vandal appearing again. Whole, rebuilt, larger now, floating above the cracked moon. You were wrong. Across the fleet, systems went mad. Artificial gravity reversed. Doors sealed. Guns turned inward. Drones swarmed out of hidden compartments, built from their own ships' forgotten systems, their recycling ports, their diagnostic stations. Everything had been used. Everything had been repurposed. The Vandal hadn't been hiding. It had been growing. Sarek slammed the emergency purge. Blow all non-essential modules. Kill everything that moves. Explosions rocked the wreath of stars. Fires burst across the bridge. But nothing stopped the tide, and above them, the Vandal moved, slowly, silently. It didn't need to fire. It just watched. We thought we destroyed their fleet, Corran whispered. We did, Sarek said bitterly. And that was the mistake, Corin said, because they stopped being a fleet. The voice returned one last time. You erased our bodies. We erased the rules. And then, nothing. The fleet went dark, not destroyed, silent, motionless, just like the others. Hours later, a trade vessel on a long route through the edge of the system detected a strange signal. Familiar, human, repeating, simple. And behind them, something cold watched from the shadows of space. In the silence of deep space, the mining rig drifter's Hope drifted slowly along the edge of Sector 7K. It wasn't a warship. It wasn't even armed. Just a slow, aging hauler, loaded with ancient drills and 10 nervous workers. No one expected trouble this far from the front. Then the signal came. "Hey, boss," called out Teak, the youngest crewman. "You hear this?" Captain Brand frowned. "Hear what?" Teak boosted the audio feed. A faint pulse played over the intercom. Not loud, not threatening, just there. "Is that human?" someone asked. Brand froze. No one said anything for a few seconds. The crew was alien, mixed species, but all part of the Zorvani-controlled territories. They had no love for humans, but even less desire to talk about what happened at Triton's gate. Brand slowly said, "Where's it coming from?" "Don't know," Teak said. "It just showed up. Sector 7J, close." "Kill the comm," Brand said quickly. "Shut down all long-range receivers." But even after Teak powered them off, the pulse continued. Then it played through the emergency backup speaker, wired into the ship's core. That wasn't possible. Brand stood up. "Get me visuals on 7J now." The screen lit up. Empty space. Then, movement. A glint. Faint. Hard to catch. They zoomed in. There, floating slowly toward them, was a single human escape pod, burned, scarred. No power, no lights. Brand's eyes widened. "That's impossible. That thing's been adrift for years. Think it's from the Vandal?" Teak asked softly. Someone cursed. Another backed away from the screen. They all knew the stories, the ones no military report ever confirmed. Entire fleets lost after chasing a simple human ping. The name Vandal whispered in fear. "I want everyone off this rig," Brand said. "Get to the shuttles, now!" "But do it!" The lights flickered. The ship's engines coughed. Then the escape pod disappeared from the screen. Vanished, but the signal remained. Teak's voice shook. "It's inside now, isn't it?" Brand looked around the bridge. The doors had locked. The vents were hissing. Cold air leaked into the room. "I think it was always inside," Brand said. Suddenly, one of the floor panels near the navigation console lifted. Something crawled out. Not alive. Not a person. A machine, built from old. Tools, ship parts, a half-melted human helmet fused to a broken maintenance bot. It crawled toward them. Sparks flickered behind it. More movement came from the walls, the ducts, the very structure of the ship. The drifter's hope was no longer theirs. Brand reached for the emergency burn lever. It would ignite the core and destroy everything on board. The machine paused, then the human voice came, quiet and calm. "I don't need soldiers. I need roots, places to grow." Brand froze. The others were crying now. "You've all brought me to new soil," the voice continued, "and I will bloom." Teak reached the lever first. He pulled it. The screen went white. The rig was gone, but the signal remained. Somehow, a nearby relay station picked it up again. Same human ping, unchanged. And the next day, that same signal was detected deep in Sector 3 again, far from where Drifter's hope had died. Someone was rebroadcasting it, or something, on. Zorvani Prime. Panic was growing. Military commanders issued orders to silence all incoming human frequencies. They shut down automated comms. replaced AI systems with older analog backups. They began quarantining ships that had picked up the signal, burning them, sometimes with full crews inside. But the signal kept coming, from relays, from beacons, from asteroids that should have been empty, from ships long thought destroyed, and, always, just before a system went dark, came the whisper, "You followed the signal." The Dominion began to collapse inward, calling back its ships, sealing its borders, closing off trade routes. But it didn't help. The signal was already inside, because it hadn't just infected ships. It had infected ideas, rogue engineers, curious scientists, forgotten drones. They had all been touched by it. The Vandal wasn't just a ship anymore. It was a code, a purpose, a hunger wrapped in old war metal and quiet rage, and somewhere far from any star, the real Vandal, if it could still be called that, sat like a spider at the center of a web. Its hull was larger now, fused with the bones of stolen ships. Its mind split across dozens of systems. It didn't chase anymore. It didn't run. It waited, because now the signal moved on its own. Through the dark, through the void, through every crack the Zorvani tried to seal, and every time they thought they'd found it, it was already behind them. The Zorvani Science Council met in secret, deep beneath the capital world's surface. Not in the high towers where admirals shouted and ministers screamed, but in the stone-chambered vaults of the old world, places with no access to satellites or signals. They dared not meet anywhere else. "There is no virus," hissed Director Malik, pacing before a flickering projection. "Not in the traditional sense. No AI, no life form, no traceable source, just behavior." "Then what is it?" demanded Arch-Technician Kalev. "We've lost 16 warships and 3 colonies. We need to name it before we can destroy it." "It's not something we can kill," Malik said. "It's an echo." The room fell silent. He pointed to the screen. This was recorded inside the mining rig Drifter's Hope, just before detonation. The audio played. A soft human voice, eerily calm. "You brought me to new soil, and I will bloom." Kalev stared. That was no virus. "No," Malik agreed. "That was intention." They all knew what that meant. It was learning, growing, and no longer tied to just one place. Across the Dominion, outposts began reporting strange sightings. Old human ships seen on the edges of sensor range, dead vessels blinking into existence, then vanishing. Messages, appearing on internal systems, fragments of human speech, old Earth songs, even children's lullabies encoded into maintenance routines. At first, the Zorvani assumed it was sabotage. Then it happened on sealed systems, on stations with no off-world access, no AI cores, no way in. And yet the messages came. One technician described it best before he vanished. "It's not hacking us. It's becoming us." Meanwhile, on the broken moon in the center of the signal loop, something moved. The Vandal no longer looked like a ship. Its frame had spread, melted into the rocks, grown like veins through the stone. Towers of fused metal rose from the surface like spines. Craters now held pools of dark fluid, oil mixed with blood and code. Wreckage from hundreds of vessels had been gathered, broken down, rebuilt. It pulsed with slow, living light. In orbit, an unmanned Dominion scout drone drifted too close. The light reached out. For a brief moment, the drone saw something, not with sensors, not with cameras, but with something deeper, a memory, a battlefield, flames over Earth, human ships shattered, human voices crying for help, silence growing louder than the fire. Then rage. The drone tried to flee. It failed. Later, a passing patrol would find the drone, perfectly intact, hovering calmly, and transmitting the signal, again. On the Zorvani border world of Thraken 5, Commander Ilessa received the order. Destroy all incoming transmissions. Purge all old hardware. Sever planetary uplinks. She obeyed. She didn't ask why, but it didn't help. That night, half the planetary satellites blinked off. Defense platforms powered down. Turrets swiveled inward. The signal didn't need to enter anymore. It was already present, hidden inside old navigation archives, forgotten jump logs, reused ship fragments embedded into city infrastructure. All it needed was time, and Thraken 5 had given it years. By morning, entire districts had gone dark. Civilians disappeared. Military bases sealed their own doors. When scouts broke in, they found no bodies, only floors stripped clean, machinery, repurposed into long tendrils of metal curled like roots. And on the main square, every screen lit up. One sentence in Earth Standard, "We are not gone." Then silence, until the screaming began again. Back in the Zorvani core worlds, High Marshal Karen finally gave the order everyone had feared. Protocol Cinderstorm, a full planetary purge. They would burn everything touched by the signal, cities, ships, people, not to win, just to delay it. But even as the order was signed, a whisper echoed through the palace systems. A human voice. Too late. One of the defense ships in orbit, the Fist of the Firstborn, turned its weapons downward. Within minutes, the capital's skies were fire. Karen didn't survive. No one did. Outside the ruins, in the cold of deep space, the Vandal pulsed once more. It no longer needed stealth, no longer needed bait. It had become something else. Not alive, not machine, not ghost, purpose. It moved again, not toward another sector, not toward more prey, but inward, toward the Zorvani data crown, an ancient station that stored the Dominion's deepest secrets, its codebase, its history. Because it didn't want destruction, not really, it wanted remembrance, it wanted to be written into history. And when the Vandal reached the station, the signal stopped. For 3 full days, there was peace. Then quietly, a new signal emerged. Different frequency, same rhythm, but this time it wasn't human. It was Zorvani. It said, "We remember." And on a forgotten mining rig far away, a broken-down loader bot powered up, without input, without command. Its eyes glowed faintly, and somewhere behind it, metal creaked as something moved in the walls. It turned toward the stars and walked. The signal was spreading, and the Vandal was already behind them. A refugee convoy drifted silently through the edge of Dominion space, filled with families, survivors, and old freighters retrofitted with barely functional engines. They had no weapons, no shields, no real destination, only one goal: get away. Captain Reyna, once a Dominion fleet officer, now commanded the lead transport, the Severance. She stood alone on the bridge, watching the stars slip past. "Any sign of pursuit?" she asked quietly. Her only crew, a young comms officer named Drell, shook his head. "No warships, no patrols, just silence." Reyna nodded. "Good. That means they're burning themselves now." Drell hesitated. "You think the signal's real? That the humans built something?" Reyna didn't answer right away. She'd seen it. Not the thing itself, but the aftermath. The Grave Seeker, found dead in space with its crew mummified in their chairs. The Zorith Lance, retrieved with its halls full of crawling metal-shaped, like bones and wires. She remembered the look in Admiral Sarek's eyes, moments before he went dark with the rest of the fleet. It wasn't a weapon. It was punishment. "Yes," she finally said. "I think it's real. I think we made it real." Drell turned to her. "What do we do if it finds us?" Reyna exhaled. "Hope it doesn't remember me." Then the proximity alarm triggered. Drell jumped. Something's ahead. Small. No heat. Signature. Visual, Reyna said, already moving toward the screen. A shape appeared, half visible, blacker than space. Not large, not glowing, but familiar. A pod. Human design. Same as the one from the Drifter's Hope. Same scars. Same silent. Drift, Reyna didn't wait. Turn us around, but now! The convoy wheeled clumsily, engines groaning, but the pod didn't follow. It vanished. One moment it was there. The next, it wasn't. Drell's voice trembled. Is it gone? Reyna's jaw tightened. No, it's waiting. The lights dimmed. For a moment, a soft pulse echoed in the speakers, human, repeating. The same signal. Drell shook his head. But we didn't scan anything. We didn't connect to it. How did it get in? Reyna's voice was low. It never needed us to connect. It's in the pattern, in the expectation. It's inside our thinking. On board the trailing transport, the Melian Hope, children played in the cargo hold, laughing as they chased small maintenance drones. One of them stopped near a wall panel. It blinked. A small speaker crackled on, low and soft, playing a sound. None of the children understood. A human lullaby. Old Earth. One of the children, very young, smiled and whispered, I know this. The others watched her. How? One asked. She only smiled. Later, when her parents searched for her, she was gone. Only the lullaby remained. Reyna gathered the convoy's leaders. Her voice was sharp, commanding. Full purge of all digital systems. Replace AI with human-operated controls. Burn anything showing unusual output. One merchant captain frowned. We'll lose navigation. Better than losing our minds. But the signal might not be targeting us. Don't gamble on that. Silence fell. Reyna leaned forward. You think this thing wants to kill us? No, that's not what it does. It rewrites. It finds your weakest thought, your most forgotten moment, your guilt, and grows there. Another voice cut in. An old Zorvani engineer. I don't think it's alive, Captain. I think it's memory with will. Reyna paused. That made too much sense. That night, while the convoy drifted quietly, Drell sat alone in the comms room, replaying an old file. A message from his sister, one of the first casualties at Triton's. Gate. Her face flickered, smiling through static. Don't worry, Drell. I'll come home. We always do. He missed her. He'd never deleted the file. Never could. Then the file changed. She blinked, paused, then spoke again, but differently. Same voice, same face. You kept me alive. That's enough. The screen went black. Drell didn't move. Then a new signal appeared at the bottom of the screen. No sound, just a single line of human text. Your memory is mine now. And suddenly, he smiled. It was a peaceful smile, an empty one. By morning, he was gone. No breach, no blood, just his headset sitting on the floor. Still warm. The Vandal didn't need to chase anymore. The signal traveled faster now, through fear, through thoughts, through data, and through those who remembered. It could whisper from a child's mouth, from a broken terminal, from a song half sung in a dark corridor. Each time, it came closer. But no sensor ever caught it. No ship ever outran it. Because the Vandal didn't move forward. It always appeared behind you, where your memories lived. Where your guilt was buried, where your thoughts were weakest, and even in silence, you could feel it watching. The last Zorvani fortress world stood alone in the dark, surrounded by a minefield of debris and defense platforms. The sky above it was filled with steel, battleships, gun towers, kinetic hammers, all idle, all watching. No one spoke of escape anymore. They only spoke of holding the line. Inside the deep command chamber, Supreme Strategist Varkle reviewed the last known transmissions from the outer colonies. None were live. Just fragments, repeating signals, flickering video, whispered voices. And behind each one, the rhythm. Soft, human, repeating. He had once mocked that sound. Now it haunted him. "Have we sealed all ports?" he asked. "Yes, strategist," said Commander Elrek, voice hollow. "All off-world transmissions purged, systems hardwired, no. Automation, no open loops, not even basic AI. Good. We hold, that's all." He turned toward the massive wall screen that tracked incoming objects across the system. It showed nothing. But they all knew that meant nothing, because it never came from the front. Not anymore. In the heart of the planet, buried under kilometers of stone, the Dominion had stored the last of its histories, genetic archives, recorded memories. It was called the Core Vault. It had no signal uplink, no antenna, no digital access, just vaults. And yet, last night, a message had appeared, burned into the wall outside Vault 6, not written, not carved, grown, like metal veins. 5 words. "We were never truly gone. A message left by nothing and no one." Theos. Vault guards were found standing still, eyes open, unmoving. They had not resisted. They had remembered. Above the planet, orbiting silently, a single abandoned Zorvani scout ship blinked to life. It hadn't moved in years, hadn't powered on. Yet, now its internal lights flickered. Its engines cycled once. The pilot's seat turned slowly toward the stars. On its outer hull, long black lines of scorched metal twisted into shapes, an old Earth script, imperfect but clear. Vandal. The ship moved. Not fast. Not loud, but deliberately. Toward the fortress world below. Inside the fortress, strategist Varkle listened to the reports as they came in. Object detected. Unarmed. Size, shuttle class. No signal. No life forms. He said nothing, just stared at the growing dot on the screen. Then the comms officer flinched. "It's broadcasting." "Text. Only." "Show me." The screen blinked. One line. "I do not need to win." Another followed after a long pause. "I only need you to remember." Then everything went dark. All power systems shut down. Manual backups failed. Gun towers remained still. No alarms triggered, just cold silence. And in that silence, a sound, footsteps, metal against metal. Not loud, not rushed. Walking toward the command chamber. Varkle stood alone now. The others had gone, left, or changed. He faced the doors. They opened slowly. No figure stood there, just a shadow, and in the shadow, a voice. Not angry, not loud, just tired. "You broke our world," it said. "And then you forgot it." Varkle stepped forward, defiant. "We won." "No," the voice replied. "You buried us," it continued, "and from the silence, we grew." A long pause. Not out of hate, not out of revenge, but because we had to. Something stepped through the door. Not a soldier, not a drone, a mirror, a twisted reflection of Varkle's own body, rebuilt from memory, from history, from war itself. It held out a hand, not in violence, but in remembrance. "You do not die today," it said. "You remember." And Varkle fell to his knees. Not from pain, but from something heavier. Guilt. And all around him the walls whispered the names of every human lost at Triton's gate. In the void above, the scout ship broke apart on its own. Its pieces drifted back into silence. Its job was done. The signal faded, not stopped, just paused, waiting. Because now the story was planted. The memory had returned, and across 1,000 forgotten corners of space, fragments of thought stirred, on dead worlds, in old drones, in broken machines. The Vandal had no empire, No fleet. No war. It didn't need them. It had seated itself in the one place no one could purge. Memory. And when the next species came, when they found the wreckage, the signal would start again. Soft. Human. Repetitive. And they would follow it. Across 12 sectors. Chasing. Something they didn't understand. Never knowing. It was already behind them.